16 before the hour. We're glad to have you waking up with us as we continue on this Wednesday morning. Time for some expert car care advice. And it's free. Our buddy Chuck Miller is joining us here. Chuck, good to see you.
Good morning.
Ready to hop on a phone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Eula is here to kick things off. Eula, good morning. Welcome to the broadcast. Eula, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. What's your question?
I have a Dodge Durango sitting in my driveway, and it's a good running car, but I want to know if I don't drive it, is it going to hurt it to just sit out there because the batteries are down on it? And is that going to ruin the car for just sitting there?
Good question.
Yes, ma'am, it will actually. What you need to do is get it up and start it at least once a week or once every 2 weeks and take it up and drive it up and down the road, get the fluids to circulate through the engine, through the transmission, and through the differential so that everything is staying lubricated. What happens when it sits like that is condensation, moisture gets all in the car and the engine, and if you don't start it up and run it up, then that moisture will start to cause rust and cause problems in your bearings, in your engine, in the transmission, several places in the car.
Could be like kind of a domino effect. Once something like that begins to happen, it can certainly cause something else to go awry.
Yes.
I want to ask you also, kind of related to Eula's question, in a situation like that, when the car is sitting up for an extended period of time, do the fluids tend to break down or separate or anything like that?
Actually, they do. And a car that's driven, you take someone who drives 50, 60, 70 miles a day to work, is easily a car that'll do 500,000 miles.
Right.
Where you get someone who drives 5 or 10 miles, they say, well, I don't drive it that much. Well, actually, that's harder on your car, short distances, than it is to get it out, get it up to operating temperature, get some miles on the car. I mean, you see these cases, and we have customers that's got over 500,000 miles on their car.
Wow.
But there are people that drive a lot every day, you know, and they extend their oil change intervals.
Sure.
You're not having to change the oil every 3,000 miles because the oil doesn't break down as much. But a car that sits is much harder on it than a car that's being driven.
All right, JW is up next. JW, what is your question for Chuck Miller?
I'd like to talk to him about the difference in when the mileage before you change the oil, but the months will come quicker. So why you would have to change oil before the mileage says you have to change it?
Well, that goes back to the conversation we just had. A car that's not being driven that much, the oil's not started up, it's not getting to operating temperature, and it's not breaking down the stuff inside the car that it should. So you need to keep it changed more often, actually, if your car is not being driven than you do. Now, if a car is not being driven at all, you could probably change it once every 6 months or so. But if it's not being driven that often, you need to drive it, quite a bit.
Do we need to change the oil more frequently in winter or when it gets really cold as opposed to spring and summer?
Temperature really doesn't make a difference in it because our cars, especially when I say newer cars, 96 up, are designed to be at operating temperature in under 60 seconds. So, I mean, by the time you get out of your neighborhood, for most people, it's already at operating temperature.
All right. Now, I can see my dad right now just as plain as day. He had a little formula for how long you had to wait and let the car warm up before you put it in gear. What is the situation now?
That was true with the older cars. With the newer cars, it's actually worse if you let the car sit there and idle. Now, they don't use much fuel. It's not like it's going to take a lot of fuel or whatever, but all that stuff, again, is not circulating. It's just kind of sitting there idling. The coolant is not circulating. The oil's really not circulating, not till you get it up and get the RPMs going. So it's actually better, uses less fuel, and keep your intake and stuff cleaner if you just start it up, get in the car, and go. And with the new cars, like I said, in a couple minutes, it's already getting warm.
All right. Finally, this morning, as we get into the really cold temperatures, we've seen a couple of mornings like that so far this year. Many of you are looking at that right now. What is the best way, the safest way, to get ice off the windshield and off the windshield wipers?
Really, the only way to do it is with a can of de-icer. Now, if you go out in the evenings and put a blanket or a tarp or something over your windshield, then you're going to be okay. But if you go out in the morning and it's all, you scrape it.
Covered.
Scrape it or get a can of de-icer. And scrape it is really, unless you scrape the whole windshield, it's really not safe. I mean, how many times have you got up in the mornings and going down the road and you see someone trying to look up underneath where it's just defrosting at the bottom. And
Every time we have weather like that.
plus the glare. I mean, it's really either get a can of de-icer, and you'll probably need it anyway, some, because we have a rain the night before, the locks are going to freeze up. So the de-icer will help with that too. But spray a can of de-icer on it, keep your windshield washer fluid full and clean, spray the de-icer on it, hit the windshield washer fluid, and then you're down the road.
Very quickly, just a few seconds, does the de-icer help if you have to manually unlock your car with the key?
It will. It'll help with any of that. Now, you'll have to crack the hole open where
Right.
you can push it in there, but the de-icer will help with that too.
All right, Chuck Miller, tell us where we can stop by and get more expert advice and get our cars maintained properly.
5128 Hickson Pike, right next to Abba's house.
5128 Hickson Pike. You can also call them at 875-2276 and the website, hicksontransmission.com. Chuck Miller, thank you very much. 10 away from 7 o'clock in our Sportsman's Forecast right around the corner.